So this is a brief presentation just to give you, really remind you, because I'm sure many of you remember, of what the video game landscape was like leading up to 2006 during the writing of this report from Jenny Levine, and just to give more context for her report. So starting in 2000, you start seeing The Sims and the rise of simulation games. So these expanded the gaming audience. The Sims attracted a broader, more diverse player base, including women and casual gamers. So it really brought them into the play by really focusing on the everyday life simulation rather than combat or competition. And a lot of the ideas of the using the library as a third place came from games such as The Sims, where people were able to hang out and have games that were more about being in a space, relaxing, escapism, more so than that competition and the combat. It also encouraged creativity and open-ended play, which we really hadn't seen too frequently with video games up to this point. So The Sims didn't offer you fixed objectives, or it allowed players to build their own stories and to create narratives. So an important piece within video games and studying games is games with lowercase g and games with the capital G. So games with the lowercase g is the game as it's designed for players, and the game with the capital G is what happens when the game gets in the hands of the players and the players start making adaptations to it or making changes to it. And in many cases, players start putting their own narratives on top of games with something like The Sims, where they're creating their own mini game or almost like meta game within the game of Sims. And that's something that really starts to pop out with the open ended play. It validated games also as a cultural artifact, right? Because the success showed that games could explore complex social dynamics like family life, emotional storytelling, and I think The Sims in particular started really legitimizing video games as serious content, suitable for libraries and suitable for education. Just having the act of being able to build your own home, to shape a life, and to mirror what like creative literacy and storytelling is, but doing that within a video game. In 2001, the Xbox launched. So this was Microsoft's entry into console gaming, and it really marked a major shift when the tech giant entered the gaming market, and it signaled the growing importance of video games in mainstream digital culture. It pioneered online multiplayer with Xbox Live, where you actually had seamless online gaming moving through your console, and it really revolutionized how players interacted socially and competitively across distances. So it wasn't just through computer games anymore or through individual servers. All of that was handled through the Xbox Live system. And it really enabled community-based play, especially games like Halo that supported local multiplayer and LAN parties. And that also gave libraries an entry by using these tools to engage the youth by having their collaborative gaming events at the library. In 2001, we have the Nintendo GameCube also. So while these have come out, 5 years before this report is done, these gaming consoles are the ones that are lingering around, right? And this is where we're at the point. So the GameCube is interesting because it focused on local multiplayer and family-friendly games. So the GameCube gave us the titles like Mario Kart, Double Dash Land, Super Smash Bros. Melee, which were really ideal for group play and community spaces, like a library. They were affordable. The hardware was accessible. It was a small, compact design. That the difference between the Nintendo and even PlayStation and early Xbox is that these Nintendo GameCubes could take a beating. They were built with thicker plastic. There were less movable parts, and it really did make it a practical choice for libraries that had a limited budget to be able to launch their gaming programs, just on the fact that the hardware was tougher. It was just better physically. It could take damage better than other consoles could. It also supported inclusive social experiences because the emphasis was on fun and cooperative gameplay over violence or even realism. And the GameCube really aligned with library values, ALA values at the time of inclusion, education, and safe play within library spaces. Also in early 2000s, the PlayStation 2 is still dominating. Right? So this is the best-selling console of all time. 155 million units were sold, and the PS2's widespread adoption made it the cultural touchstone and the easy platform for libraries to adopt because so many people had extra games, so many people had extra parts or could bring in joysticks. It had a very diverse and expansive game library. Right, the PS2 had the vast range of titles from educational games to family friendly games to music games, sports games, action games, which really helps to support different library programming that can happen in here. And they also started doing the, now I'm forgetting the name of it, but they would do the old drawback titles and re release games for $19. So you could buy an older game and bring them in. And that's where a lot of libraries were starting to build up their video game libraries, was when they were getting re released as, well, they like PlayStation Classics, I think is what they were called. It also introduced innovative peripherals, so accessories like the iToy, which was the digital camera that you could hook up to the PlayStation and it could use your body as the avatar. You could blink your eyes and change different things on the screen. DDR, Dance Dance Revolution mats, really brought out that physical interactive gameplay. And then we could start aligning that with wellness and youth engagement initiatives in the libraries. Around the same time, too, we also had the rise of flash games, so browser-based games and casual online games. So, here's a picture of Club Penguin and RuneScape. I'm sure many of you are familiar with these. I don't know if how many of you tried to flip the iceberg inside of Club Penguin, but this gave increased accessibility for games. So flash games could be played in a web browser without any expensive hardware. There weren't any downloads. And it really made these ideal for school and library computers by loading them onto the computer and having them free for everybody. It really introduced gaming to a wider audience. So even casual titles like Bejeweled or Neopets, RuneScape attracted younger players, first-time gamers, and those looking for kind of short, low-pressure PlayStations. I remember play sessions, not PlayStations. I remember being at work in the early 2000s and just everybody seemed to have a browser window open with their Flash player and they were playing one of these games. Somebody was playing RuneScape, somebody was playing Bejeweled, or there were so many different types of games that were being played, but it really, really was a way to kind of pass the time pre-smartphone. These were also promoted digital literacy and exploration. A lot of these games encouraged players to navigate online environments. They were engaging with virtual communities and using early web tools and skills where we learned how to chat in these things. We learned how to interact with communities. We learned how to change avatars. We learned how to change different colors. And the idea of pay to play started really coming in. But all these skills kind of align with digital learning goals. So in 2005, this is right before, probably about the time that Jenny Levine is doing her research. It gets published in 2006, but it takes about a year and a half to start putting things together. But Xbox 360 launches, and we have the big online expansion. So this really mainstreamed the online console gaming. Xbox Live on 360 normalized online multiplayer, where you had achievements and you kind of gamified the game. And you had downloadable content, and it really changed how players connected and competed globally. It expanded the gaming demographic, the really sleek design, diverse game library, and Xbox 360 appealed to both hardcore gamers and newcomers, and it supported that cross-generational engagement. And I think the big thing about Xbox 360 is that it introduced that new digital ecosystem. So features like gamer profiles, digital marketplaces, community messaging, really laid the foundation for the modern console-based interactions that we see now. And all of these become, again, they're relevant for libraries that are exploring networked gaming events. So I hope this helps to kind of situate where Jenny Levine is coming from. These are the consoles and the Flash plugins and things that people are using really in the mainstream world. And these are slowly going to start adapting and coming into library land. So, go read.